Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and I'm back with more store visits. Yes, I've been going to even more comic book stores. My wife and I went on another trip, and we're thinking about buying a house. We're just not sure where because houses are so expensive here up in Massachusetts. So, what we're doing is we're driving around and visiting a bunch of towns where we're seeing houses pop up. So, we're visiting all these towns, not just in Massachusetts, but in other neighboring states that have cool looking houses to see what the towns are really like. And part of that is I'm discovering what their comic book stores are really like. Today, in this video, we're going to be going to two comic stores that are too far away for us to live, unfortunately, because it was a really cool couple of towns. We're going to the Hamptons, Massachusetts, that is. We're going to Easthampton, we're going to Northampton, and then after that, I've got a visit to a place that's not a comic store, but that I want to mark anyway. Let's put these first up on the map. In the Hamptons, in Easthampton, we have Comics and More, and then in Northampton, we have Holeymoleys Comics. We're going to be starting off here with a little bit about Comics and More in Easthampton. Really cool town, and the store's in this really cool location. There's a bunch of little artsy shops and vintage stores, and it's right next to this lake with this like mountain overlooking it. It's just really cool. Store's got a lot of cool stuff. I was not able to get any footage inside the store. It's small and there was a ton of people inside. I also didn't buy very much. It's a really cool store, but it's a sort of store that is really more my wife's taste than mine because lots and lots of new stuff, lots of graphic novels. She buys a lot of graphic novels and trades and stuff like that. They did have some back issues, but it was a limited supply. They had like I want to say 6 or 8 short boxes, basically, and they had some cool stuff from the 70s, but it was just extremely random what they had. They did have a few wall books that I took a look at. They had a Blip #1 that they were selling for $200, stuff like that. So there's a couple things I thought about getting, but ultimately, the only thing I ended up buying at Comics and More is this here. It's a new book. It's a new book from DC. It's Strange Love Adventures, which is a giant that they put out for Valentine's Day. I don't know. It doesn't have page count, but it's square bound. It's pretty big. They said there's 8 stories. I think there's probably maybe 70 to 80 pages. Maybe less than that, at least 60. So it's a good thing. It's $10. There's a couple different covers. I got this one. I like this one better than the other one, which is more superhero-y than this one. And as an anthology, it's kind of hit and miss, but it's cool. I want to support the big two whenever they put out their romance books, which is very rarely. Once in a while they do something like this, and I want to keep supporting those. I really appreciate that they brought back the old DC heart that the comics used to have at one point in the late 60s. Instead of the DC logo, they had the DC heart. So happy to do that. A really cool store. I have nothing bad to say about the store. I just didn't end up getting much because, as you know, I have very specific tastes in back issues. I have specific names I'm looking for. They did have some cool stuff. They'd clearly just gotten in a run, for instance, of Catwoman with Adam Hughes covers, but the big ones like issue 70 were gone, and they did everything else priced accordingly. So I'm doing a thing here that I've talked about, I think, already. I am trying to make my comic collecting self-sufficient. So in some of these videos, a lot of these store videos, I'll talk about comics that I got cheap that are worth more. I'm going to flip them. And that's two reasons I wanted to mention that. I do feel a little bit bad sometimes because I know some of the people are actually going to watch the videos, and I never want it to seem like I'm like rubbing it in or anything like that, because that's not at all what I'm doing. First of all, I want you guys to see some of the stuff that is out there so you can look for this, you can get deals, and you can find stuff, because there's so many different comics that are worth money these days and nobody knows all of them. So when I find these things, I want to share those with you so I can share the knowledge. The other thing, though, as I started to say, is I'm trying to make my comic collecting self-sufficient. So I'm trying to only spend as much money as I get. So that involves curating my collection so that if I have big purchases, I have to sell other things to pay for them. but it also involves finding deals on books that I don't collect but are still worth money when I go to these stores that I can then flip to pay for the other stuff. And so um, I thought about that with some of those Adam Hughes, but there just wasn't enough meat on the bone for me. Some of the prices were fine. It's a little odd to me how some of these covers are classic and worth a lot of money. Others that to me are just as cool aren't. It's a little arbitrary. It's almost like people start talking about, a specific cover, and other people are like, oh yeah, that is a cool cover, and that guy thinks it's cool, so I should get one because. And then you got two people both saying it's cool, and then the third person's like, well, if everyone else thinks this is cool, I should get one myself. I don't know. It just feels like some of these things are a little bit weird, but whatever. That's how it works. So really cool store. Definitely recommend checking out Easthampton. Also recommend going one town north to Northampton, which is a great college town. Lots of cool stuff to do there. Lots of live music, and we were investigating all this stuff with the possibility of if we ever might get a house there, but it's just too far away from my wife's job. But the town has everything that we're looking for, just picturesque, a lot of like vibrant art scene there, and they have this cool store called Holeymoleys. Now with the previous store in Easthampton, I only got a little bit of footage of the outside and none of the inside, but this, as you can see, is the opposite. Didn't get any footage of the outside, only got the inside. That's unfortunate that I didn't get pictures of the outside, because if you're coming from the center of town, there's the building it's in has this little thing that juts out and blocks the view of the sign that says comics. You can only see that once you get around part of the building. So the Google Maps was saying we were at the store, and we were like, where's the store? And then also, if you look at Google, it's got a photo of the storefront, completely different building. Doesn't look anything like the building the store's actually in. But once we found it, it was really cool. The owner was really cool. She didn't want to appear on camera, but that's fine. But she was very personable and very passionate about the store, and it was really cool. They had some stuff there that I know there were deals to be found, but it was actually an area that I don't know enough about. And that is one thing they had there was 2 boxes of Rock and Roll Comics, the series Rock and Roll Comics. They had tons of them. Some of the issues they had multiple copies of. I did some quick research while I was there to try and figure, because I knew that there's some that are worth money, but I just don't know enough. And a couple that I found that, like Metallica, they didn't have those. So eventually I just stopped. It's not really the place to be researching stuff in the store when you're pawing through the box. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but in this case, I was just like, I just don't know enough about these rock and roll comics. I need to educate myself. So if I do come across them in a while, that's not something you really see that often, but they had tons of them. So if you're into that sort of thing, definitely check out Holeymoleys, because they had that. They also had some dollar bins. So I did some dollar bin diving, and then I'll show you something that technically wasn't in the dollar bin, but is going to still go in the dollar bin trading challenge, which I'll get to in a second. But here's what I got in the dollar bins. So, first off, if Strike Force Morituri ever becomes a hot property or movie, I'm going to be in luck, because I got 4 more copies of the first issue. I already have a couple that I've got it out of dollar bins or 25-cent bins in the past. These are nice copies, higher grade, ranging from mid-grade to high grade, let's say. And they're all loose and flopping around, so I need to put them in bags with boards. Funny thing is that Strike Force and Morituri actually had some development a couple times. There was a TV show announced 20 years ago that never got out of the development phase. And then about 10 years ago, there was a production company that was trying to do a movie about it, and the original creator, Peter B. Gillis, was working with them on treatments and stuff, but he didn't actually have the movie rights, and was going to try and get them from Marvel. But of course, I don't know if that was pre or post Disney sale, but that's not going to work. And so it's interesting, because in response, what Marvel ended up doing was they basically made sure they secured all the trademarks and copyrights, and then they put out a series of trades collecting and reprinting the whole series of Strikeforce Morituri to make sure that they had all of their rights covered. That was basically like a preemptive strike. So that was 10 years ago. Now, they haven't done anything with it since, but the reason I keep buying these is two reasons. One, it's a really, really good series. So that's the first thing that's important. But secondly, it has this great high concept that would be perfect, particularly for a TV show. I think you could do a movie with it, but I think it really works with a TV show because of the basic premise. If you haven't read it, it's a really cool series. Basically, aliens invade Earth and they take over some parts of Earth. So Earth is partially occupied by this alien invasion force. And the remaining humans, they come up with this thing where they're able to, this technique, I'm blanking, my brain's not working right, but this process where they give people superpowers. The problem is the people that get the superpowers burn out and they all die within a year. And so over the course of the series, from the first issue to issue 20, you end up going through, by the end of the series, you've gone through multiple generations and all the characters from the beginning of the series have died. And they just die at random times. Sometimes they just they're trying to use their powers and it like consumes them and they just like explode or implode or just drop dead right in the middle of a battle. So it's and this has a lot of great treatment in the series. The alien races has a lot of satire built into how they work. So it's just perfect vehicle. When you read the series, it's one of those things that you can just tell that this would be good as a property. It's built for a TV show. So I keep buying them thinking maybe at some point Marvel's going to realize that it's unconnected to the rest of the Marvel universe. It's a whole standalone thing, which based on how the MCU and Disney Plus works, I think works against them doing it because they want to have everything interconnected. But yeah, anyway, I've got a bunch of them now and I'm going to keep buying them because sometime I think someone's going to see the light. On the other hand, there's this. It's Youngblood number 3. So Youngblood number 3. And I got this because there's a guy named ICC Trombone. You may have, I think by the time this airs, you will have seen his origin stories video. And he buys a lot of these Youngblood image books on spec for the first appearances, and on the comics forums I'm on, they make fun of him a lot for it. But it is the first appearance of Supreme, so that's why I picked this up for the first Supreme. And for $1, why not? They did not have issue 2. They only had every other issue of the series, but people already picked through and got the first profit. But they did have this one copy here of issue 3 with the first appearance of Supreme. So got that for $1. Also picked up, this is probably the worst spec book I've ever picked up. It's Arian, Lord of Atlantis number 1. It's not even a high grade copy, it's mid grade. I don't know. It's a series that ran for a long time. Aquaman, of course, has a lot of connections to Atlantis, and there's the movies for that. But it's not his first appearance. That's an issue of Warlord, I think 48, which I think is the real one to get. But I don't know. I want to support the comic stores as well. So, and then finally, I got this, which it was very interesting. It's Kyra, number 1, and Kyra has a back issue photo, back covers a photo, and this is one of these indie comics, 1985. And what's interesting is the art's actually not that bad. It definitely has that sort of 80s, indie feel to it, but you can tell that the artist has some skill. It's interesting that there's a backup story which is a reprint of a previous story this artist had done in like a zine or something, and that art I actually like better because there's definitely you can see here there's definitely some like Alex Toth elements. The other thing that's really interesting in this is he talks about how you can female superheroes are unrealistic because they're all skinny. and like supermodels, and he's like, the male superheroes all having these incredibly ridiculously muscular physiques, and so he's like, the female heroes should also have the muscles. So he talks a lot about female bodybuilders, which is where we get this on the back. And so he draws Kyra as being a big muscular woman. There's several things I found interesting about this. There's a hilarious sequence in this story in the back where this guy is going across he's going across like a rope bridge or something, and she comes swinging like Tarzan because she's a jungle woman, right? There she is in the background, getting closer. You can see she's spreading her legs here. And then she comes flying in full speed and just plows him directly in the face with her crotch at full speed. I was dying laughing that. And then what happens on the next page is she swings, clutching the guy's head in her crotch, swings him off the side of the bridge, and then drops him to his death. Hilarious. The other thing that's interesting, because there's a lot of things here in the introduction here, he basically talks about how this character is supposed to be the daughter of a jungle character named Kagina, who apparently was in underground erotic comics that were sold by mail order in the 1950s. And so elements like that last thing I was just talking about, where she swings in and grabs defeats the guy with the power of her crotch, makes sense, because the character that this is a legacy character is building off of was a character from these underground sort of erotic comics from the 1950s. Now, they weren't published, they weren't out for distribution. I've never seen any of them, but I did a quick look online and I saw some of them have been collected in books. So anyway, it was really interesting. This series ran for 6 issues. It ran for 6 issues. So I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out for the rest of this run. I actually looked up the artist because he has a very unique name, and the artist seems to still be doing art, is actually an art teacher. And even though he's not doing comic stuff, it's all like abstract painting. There's definitely a lot of strong, powerful female forms in his artwork there as well. So those are all out of the dollar bins. Here's something that wasn't technically in the dollar bin yet. It's going to go in the dollar bin trading challenge. It is Marvel Age 71. Now you can see it was priced at $2. This is a book that's going between 15 and 20 right now, because of it's a Silver Surfer cover by Mobius. It's just a great Mobius cover, and so the Silver Surfer collectors and the Mobius collectors are really digging this. So how, even though it's priced at $2, why am I putting the dollar bin trading challenge? Well, when I brought up the comics, they basically gave me a bulk deal. So it was 9 comics. I got that wrong. Yeah, $7 bin comics plus this. So 8 comics for $9 is what I was supposed to do. They actually gave me 8 comics for $7. So they knocked $2 off the price. So the total of these, they were actually something like 87 cents each, including this one. So this is actually a really, really nice copy, high grade. So that's going to go into the box for the dollar bin trading challenge. So at some point in the future, it'll go into the trading challenge. Well, I don't know how long that'll be, but by the time this video comes out, because I'm recording well in advance, maybe it'll already have done that. I don't know. They also, though, had something super cool that I want to show you, because I bought a bunch of other stuff that weren't comics. They have a very small store, and so she was saying, the publishers are always sending them all of this like promotional stuff that they just don't have space for to display or anything. So there was a whole big pile of posters, of the promotional posters like that you see in the windows at comic stores. a whole pile of them that had never been used at all, and they were selling them for $1 each. And I ended up buying, I think, either 7 or 8. And again, she gave me a bulk deal, so I only paid $5 for them. So they were like 75 cents each, and I got some great covers, some posters. Some of them have, a couple of them, particularly the DC ones, have like event logos on them, but a lot of them don't. They're just the character, and there's some really cool ones. So I'm gonna put this on pause for just a second, because it's going to take me a second to unfold them, but I want to show you all these cool posters that I got because it's really neat. Okay, so I put the comic down there just so you can see the scale of how big these posters are. This is a DC poster for Infinite Frontier. They had several of these. It seems as though for this event, DC had put together a bunch of these posters for each of the main characters with their whole cast, from their series. So you can see on the right side, there's Wonder Woman, but then there's like Nubia and Donna Troy and Hippolyta. There's Wonder Girl back there and stuff. On the left, you have more of her villains. You got, Giganta and the Cheetah and Dr. Psycho, and I assume that's Silver Swan and stuff like that. So as a Wonder Woman fan, I thought this was really cool. Really great art. I wish it didn't have that goofy Infinite Frontier logo on it because I don't know what that is, since I don't read modern superhero stuff. But again, it was less than $1 for this. And I love these advertising posters to begin with. So super cool. All right, now check this out. I didn't even realize that Astro City was back with Image. You can just see down here at the bottom the little Image thing that says on sale here only from Image. But check out this great Astro City poster, original logo from the mid-90s, and the Alex Ross art. You can see it's really big. It's also a different shape than the other posters because it's like a long, thin poster. So as an Astro City fan, I had to grab that one. Check out this giant Shang-Chi poster, huh? Really cool. I was a little confused what was happening in it because the Avengers seem to have all been smashed and Shang-Chi is standing among them. And so I'm like, did he beat them up? I don't know. But cool character, cool poster. And again, less than $1. They had several posters with this Marvel Tales logo. You can see down here where my toe is. Down there. Which I guess is a new series that they're doing. It's kind of like, I don't know, Marvel Premiere or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Here's a symbiote Spider-Man, where Spider-Man is being taken over by the Venom symbiote. The art's really good. I'm not a Spider-Man fan, nor am I a Venom fan, but I actually picked this one up specifically to give away to one of you guys when I have one of my subscriber giveaways. So if I haven't already given this away in a giveaway that's happened before this video airs, at some point, if you happen to win one of those and you're a Spider-Man fan, I'll be throwing this in for somebody. Here's a cool Cable poster. Now, I have to say I don't love that look for Cable, and I'm not necessarily a fan of that art, the design of the character. However, I love the design of the poster, which is why I got it. It's, definitely got an 80s movie poster feel to it, which I really dig. So I got this one because it was just a cool poster, cool design, even though I don't love just the way that they've designed Cable. But I like I don't know who that Cylon is behind him, but it just has that 80s movie poster feel, which is neat. Check out this super cool Black Panther poster. Now, this has the same basic idea as DC's Wonder Woman poster, but it doesn't have that event logo on it. So it just has the Black Panther logo up in the top left, and then it's got the Panther here. It's got the Avengers behind him, even though it's got, for some reason, Ghost Rider. It's a weird team of Avengers and Blade there. It looks like there's a Celestial. I don't know what's going on with the Celestial. Then over here on the left, we've got Okoye, and we got, I guess that's Shuri, and of course Storm. I don't know who the artist here. It's painted, and it looks kind of like Alex Ross on the Avengers, but I couldn't find a I couldn't find the signature, so I don't know if it's Ross or not, but it's really cool painted. We're big fans of the Black Panther here in this household, so um, yeah, had to get that one. Really cool. All right, here's a really cool Spider-Woman character poster. Again, these Marvel posters are great. There's the Spider-Woman logo, and then there's the Marvel logo, and then that's it. It's just this cool giant image of Spider-Woman. Yes, the pose is different, but it's actually reminiscent to me of the cover of Spider-Woman #1, that sort of classic cover where she's on the wall. Um, there's just something cool about her original costume as well. So I really dig this. I really dig this one a lot. And then finally, it's Ms. Marvel. Now you see down the bottom left, this is another Marvel Tales logo. Again, I'm not sure what's happening there. I put the comic on top there just to hold it down because this one was getting quite bendy. Of course, they're manufactured like that. And if I put these up on the wall or frame or whatever, these creases would come out mostly after a while. But really cool. I like Ms. Marvel quite a lot, Kamala Khan. So I wanted to get this one again. These are all less than $1 each. Never used, never hung, and just some great advertising posters. So, like I said, they had a ton of these. This is only about less than a quarter of them. So I bought 8 of the posters, I think, and again, $5. They gave me a deal on them. Just so cool. If you want to get posters for these characters, if you just buy posters, they're going to cost you whatever, $10, $15, $20. I don't even know anymore, but a lot more than that for one. And for me, there's something much cooler about having the advertising posters, these ones that were produced as advertisements for the purpose of advertising. It gives it an extra bit of meaning, and I just love it. So I thought this place was great. Definitely recommend anyone that's in the area, in the Springfield area, if you're going to the Biggie, you're going to the Basketball Hall of Fame or something, go up to Easthampton and Northampton and check out these comic stores. There was a third comic store. There was a comic store in Springfield itself, but unfortunately it was closed the day we were there. It was closed, so I wasn't able to get there. So next time I'm in Springfield, I'll definitely check that one out. But there you have it. 2 cool stores, 2 very cool towns, a great area. So let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you next time.